No, their only objection is that he is no longer popular enough to win an election and keep them in power. They want to protect their pensions and paycheck by sweeping their hated leader under the rug months before an election to trick you and then do it all over again.
Well, it happened. Justin Trudeau resigned. We'll get into the details of all of that, as well as, yeah, sure, is this a win? Kind of. I don't know. There's so much to unpack here, and a lot of very unhinged takes from other people that we are going to be sharing, as well as diving in a little bit deeper as to what does this mean? What does this mean for the future? And there's one key detail that a lot of people aren't talking about or even thinking about that is arguably the most destructive, catastrophic detail of this entire announcement. I'm taking off that hat. It feels weird to wear it indoors.
Basically, until there's a vote of no confidence held and a new election is held, only after a new election would presumably Justin Trudeau be replaced as prime minister. Now, if somebody were to replace him as head of the Liberal Party, before that, theoretically, that person would then be slotted in as prime minister, but he has not actually resigned as prime minister. If he did that, that would presumably trigger a new election in Canada.
I'm Jasmine Lane. This is Over Opinionated. Subscribe, like, share, comment, all of that stuff. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts and opinions as this story continues to develop in the comments down below. We're going to kick this off first with what Justin Trudeau actually said. I'm sure you've already seen it, but we are going to be peeling back the layers just a little bit more to kind of expose the hypocrisy and the further lies and propaganda that he took this opportunity to share with the few supporters that he still has.
And the fact is, despite best efforts to work through it, Parliament has been paralyzed for months after what has been the longest session of a minority parliament in Canadian history. That's why this morning I advised the Governor-General that we need a new session of Parliament. She has granted this request, and the House will now be prorogued until March 24th.
I picked a terrible day to sleep in past my alarm, and I was in the process of getting ready when all of this news broke, but I did film my reaction, so you can enjoy that.
Has been because of their support and with their encouragement. So last night over dinner, I told my kids about the decision that I'm sharing with you today. I intend to resign as party leader, as prime minister, after the party selects its next leader through a robust, nationwide, competitive process. Last night, I asked the president of the Liberal Party to begin that process. We were elected for the third time in 2021 to strengthen the economy post-pandemic and advance Canada's interests in a complicated world. And that is exactly the job that I and we will continue to do for Canadians. Merci beaucoup, mes amis.
And of course, as you would expect, the reaction started unfolding. One in particular that is just so outrageous, I don't even have words for it. This is actually arguably almost as insane as what Justin Trudeau said during the questions following his resignation. It comes from Jagmeet Singh. He says, below is my statement on Justin Trudeau's resignation. If you oppose callous conservative cuts, if you oppose the rich getting richer while everyone else falls further behind, stand with the NDP this time, which in and of itself is just such a lie. It's such a lie. Who has gotten richer under Justin Trudeau's government that you've supported, sir? Oh yeah, all of the insiders, elitists, and the world's richest, while everyday Canadians who maybe had a dream of having an exorbitant amount of money have been completely pushed down to the poverty line or very close to it. So he says, Justin Trudeau has let you down over and over. He let you down on the cost of housing and groceries. He let you down on fixing healthcare. It doesn't matter who leads the Liberals. They don't deserve another chance. Conservatives are jumping at the opportunity to take from you and give more to CEOs. Are they? Do you have anything to back that up? Because, yep, there's nothing to support that claim other than the fact that you say it. You will pay the price of Poilievre's cuts. Sure, people who are using some of the programs that he may or may not actually end up cutting may or may not pay the price of that, but then they will reap the reward when our dollar is worth more and when they don't need to use those programs that they feel dehumanized over having to need to use in the first place. But then the best line when he says, "You can have a government that works for you for a change." Buddy, have you forgotten just exactly what you have done to us? Are you that delusional? Is he okay? Do we need to schedule a wellness check? Like, he doesn't believe what he's saying. There's no way that he possibly can, Mr. Maserati. There's no way that he can possibly believe a word that he's saying. Like, he is intentionally lying to stay relevant right now. In response to what he shared, Sue from X wrote, "You let us down over and over. You let us down with the cost of housing and groceries. You let us down on fixing healthcare. It doesn't matter who leads the Liberals. You enabled Liberals to take from us and give more to CEOs. We paid the price for your deal with the Liberal Party. I opposed the Liberal NDP coalition that enabled the rich to get richer while everyone else fell further behind. You don't care. You chose pension over Canada. You don't deserve another chance." And, you know, that's the thing. Jagmeet Singh is like, why is he even running? The disgrace that he has caused the NDP party, a party that once a lot of people, yeah, sure, they, you know, it's not like they always got a crap ton of votes or were always leading in the polls or anything like that. But a lot of people at the bare minimum recognized, appreciated, and respected what the NDP party stood for, while at times being opposed to them just based on the fiscal responsibility of that party. A lot of people did hold what the NDP stood for in a high regard, and that has been wiped off the map. And it's been wiped off the map due to Jagmeet Singh and his leadership, and due to his insanity in propping up the Liberals and literally doing things only for himself, while having the audacity to insinuate that Conservatives as a whole are people who are bad people that are only going to help themselves. Well, if we look at past history in the last decade plus, and even if we look at past history with the government back in the Harper days, it's pretty clear that, yeah, it wasn't perfect, but the Conservative Party was far more in line with just allowing Canadians to live and let live with a reasonable amount of money in their bank accounts, because they took care of things for the most part fiscally.
Unacceptable.
We're going to get to some more reactions and responses from other people that are so insightful, but there's one point here that I think is so incredibly important to make, and it involves Donald Trump. Actually, you know what? Let's just share what Donald Trump had to say about Justin Trudeau's resignation first, and then we'll dive into how catastrophically damaging what Justin Trudeau has done actually is for Canada. This may seem like a win, but is it?
Donald Trump wasting no time, Joy, in weighing in on Justin Trudeau's resignation. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's a lengthy statement on Truth Social. He says, many people in Canada love being the 51st state. They can no longer suffer the massive trade deficit and subsidies that Canada needs to stay afloat. Justin Trudeau knew this and resigned. Well, we know that not to be true. Canadians do not relish being the 51st state. I think a poll I saw said maybe 13% in Alberta might want to do that. Elon Musk also weighing in, Vashi, mocking Trudeau, saying, well, 2025 is shaping up to be a good year. Trump won and Trudeau resigned.
So Donald Trump is taking credit for Trudeau resigning, which, yeah, I'm not going to lie, I do believe that was a significant influence. Chrystia Freeland made mention to that in her letter of resignation as well. But here's the thing. Also, side note, isn't it kind of interesting how today's January 6th, and it's also, you know, like the whole Capitol Hill riot thing that happened, and now we're also making our own note of that in Canada with the day Justin Trudeau resigns. Off topic anyway. Here's the thing. Donald Trump imposed a 25% tariff on Canada, correct? Yeah, big deal. Big deal. Chrystia Freeland resigned over it. You've had multiple people speaking out, going down to Mar-a-Lago over it. Danielle Smith has been all over the news talking about this.
The popularity took a real nosedive after that. And we talked with a number of Canadians, as well as the premier in Alberta, who called for Justin Trudeau to do exactly what he's doing today. On December 30th, listen to what she told me. Listen to this.
facing a president who has a 4-year mandate. We certainly need to have a leader here who has an equal mandate, a 4-year mandate, so that these negotiations can continue and there's the credibility at the table.
And she wanted that consistency, as President-elect Donald Trump would like to see the trade more balanced between the U.S. and Canada, as well as border security in Canada. Now, the Canadians did announce a $1.3 billion border security package. Don't know if that was quite enough for President-elect Trump as of yet. He has not said if those 25% tariffs will be imposed. But again, now we have maybe more fallout from the pressure, both externally and internally inside Canada, of what Justin Trudeau has now done.
So with this move from Justin Trudeau to prorogue Parliament for really no reason, I mean, Canadians have made it quite clear that, yes, we want an election. All of the polling that has been done shows that Canadians, the vast majority, do in fact want an election. As Pierre Poilievre said on Jordan Peterson's podcast recently, we don't need to sit around and wait while the Liberal Party figures out their shit. We don't. We know what we want. This is what we want. And Justin Trudeau to then go and prorogue Parliament, which it wasn't a surprise to anybody. Proroguing has happened before. It just is one of those things where it's like you literally, the writing is on the wall and you just want to stay in power for a little bit longer. So yeah, that 25% tariff by all accounts is definitely coming. And Justin Trudeau, by halting anything happening in Parliament, means there is nothing that any MP, any premier, nothing that anybody can do to fight Canada's case before Trump's inauguration, which is taking place on January 20th. And Trudeau is proroguing Parliament until March 24th. Like, okay, cool. Thanks for that. I guess that just puts all of that at a standstill. Can't wait to see how that affects our economy.
Unacceptable.
Speaking of the economy, after this news broke that this was going to be happening this week, the stock market definitely amped up. As this post reads, the effects of the Trudeau resignation news on the stock market. These past 9 years, we've seen firsthand the Trudeau effect on everything from stocks to our daily lives. Now we're entering a new era. That is pretty darn awful that simply there being rumors at the time that the leader was going to be stepping down, that alone single-handedly would make so many more people once again have hope and faith for the Canadian economy.
The difficult spot that the party remains in, and the Prime Minister's very clearly telegraphed preference for a full and wide open leadership convention. It remains a complete puzzle to me if the party wishes to avoid a catastrophic 1993-esque outcome in this next election, how the party can afford to take 4 months to select a leader when the government may only have 2.5 months of life expectancy.
It's also important to note his own wording. He said that he will be resigning after a new leader is chosen. Yes, Parliament is prorogued until March 24th. However, they might not have a new leadership chosen by March 24th. That's just when they're allowed to go back into the House with a clean slate all of a sudden. And this lends to my theory that Justin Trudeau refuses to leave and step down until he has the opportunity to host the G7 summit, which is taking place in Kananaskis on June 15th to 17th.
In terms of the leadership race, I mean, we'll have to wait till this Wednesday caucus, kind of more details flow out. But I was really struck today that if I was Justin Trudeau and I had waited this long to make this decision around my own leadership, he could have taken a walk in 2023, left with a strong legacy. After Pierre Poilievre was elected in 2022, he could have said, you know, it's time for change now. Last year, he could have done that, given someone ample time to set themselves up for the next election. But he chose today, in the middle of this crisis that we're facing, not just the affordability crisis, but the crisis that we're facing against Trump. And it really seems like he wasn't even trying to set up his party in his statement this morning for the best possible outcome. I didn't see him, fall on his sword, really apologize authentically, like say to Canadians, I understand I'm not likable. We're going to, shut this down. We're going to let somebody else deal with the crisis ahead. I didn't hear any of that from him. In fact, you mentioned this when you spoke to Omar, that, how actually he was saying, if only we had electoral reform, something that clearly he fought against as prime minister and only wanted to have a system that would benefit his party.
And who are the most likely successors of Justin Trudeau? Obviously, Chrystia Freeland is pretty high up there.
Accounts have been frozen, and more accounts will be frozen.
It definitely sounded like that was her intent, given her resignation and the things that she said. However, I was watching Mr. Sunshine Baby, my pal Jasper, and he had said something that was a really good point, which is that for Chrystia Freeland, in order to run and be successful at it and to sway people, she would really need to completely drag Justin Trudeau in the mud, which I honestly don't know that she would be willing to do. I really don't know that she would be willing to do that, but there's no way that she could successfully run and successfully win the hearts of Canadians by just continuing the same old, same old. And if she's still going to be supporting Justin Trudeau and everything that he did, which Canadians are rejecting right now, that would be detrimental to her. So I think that is going to be very interesting to see how that plays out.
Because the alternative is really cold and cruel and small. They get advice on foreign policy and on Ukraine from Elon Musk and Tucker Carlson. And they get advice on women's rights from misogynists and the far right.
We have Anita Anand, who's the transport minister. Meh.
We have strong and fortified borders. And if you come to Canada illegally, you will be deported.
Then another option too is Francois Philippe Champagne. Meh.
But one thing I can tell you, Canadians have no fun these days, Mr. Speaker, because they know.
And Melanie Joly, who was in the New York Times in an op-ed saying how she is likely to be Justin Trudeau's successor.
You don't frickin' gaslight people. Not on a day that is so important for the country.
Dominic LeBlanc is another one who was probably going to end up throwing his name in there too.
I was an active participant in those conversations around invoking the Emergencies Act. I think Canadians recognized that it was an extraordinary measure of last resort.
No, thank you. And then we have Mark Carney, of course, who a lot of people have talked about. And Mark Carney, over the last couple of weeks, has apparently been calling a lot of people and trying to figure out if this is something that he could actually do.
I understand the veto of the Northern Gateway pipeline.
You support it?
Given both environmental and commercial reasons.
Do you support it?
I think it is sensible. I wasn't involved in the decision, but I think it was the right decision.
And yet your company has invested billions of dollars in oil companies in both Brazil and the UAE to buy pipelines. You bought billions of dollars of pipelines as a company in the last 5 years. Do you support those investments?
Mr. Poilievre, there is a global energy system, and one of the issues, I'm trying to explain a bit of how the economy works. One of the
Thank
issues,
you so much.
It may help.
And it turns out that you actually don't need a parliamentary seat in order to run for leadership, though it's significantly easier and obviously looks better if you do have one. In the beginning of this video, I had shared that we were going to be diving deeper into some of the absurdity of the questions that Justin Trudeau then answered with following his resignation announcement. However, I was not expecting the research and finding all of these different components for today's video to take me as long as it did, and this video is starting to get kind of long in and of itself. So I will be back with you tomorrow to discuss all of that stuff, as well as more updates, because this is a developing story, and I'm sure there is a lot more insanity to come. I will leave you, though, with this amazing video by Pierre Poilievre that brilliantly sums up that, yeah, this is a win, but is it really? I'm Jasmine Lane. Thanks for watching over Opinionated, and enjoy Mr. Poilievre.
Canadians desperate to turn the page on this dark chapter in our history might be relieved today that Justin Trudeau is finally leaving. But what has really changed? Every Liberal MP in power today and every potential Liberal leadership contender fighting for the top job helped Justin Trudeau break the country over the last 9 years. All Liberal politicians actively worked to pass into law the job-killing inflationary carbon tax, a tax that carbon tax Carney endorsed in his book. All supported a law quadrupling the tax over the next 5 years. All voted for or actively supported Trudeau's out-of-control spending, debt, and immigration. All passed Trudeau's housing policies that doubled the cost of homes. All Liberal politicians helped pass catch-and-release bail and house arrest for the most rampant reoffenders, policies that increased violent crime 50%, gun crime 116%, and hate crime by 250%. So given that Liberal MPs and leadership contenders unanimously supported everything Trudeau has done, why dump him now, right before an election? Have they had a change of heart? Is it because they feel guilty that they doubled housing costs, hiked taxes, unleashed crime, broke immigration, forced a quarter of the population into poverty? No. They continued supporting Trudeau when he did all of those things. No, their only objection is that he is no longer popular enough to win an election and keep them in power. They want to protect their pensions and paycheck by sweeping their hated leader under the rug months before an election to trick you and then do it all over again.